After the collapse of the Future Combat Air System or FCAS fighter program, could NATO's biggest military powers now walk away from the ambitious Main Ground Combat System or MGCS tank project, raising doubts over Europe's future battlefield plans? Are Germany and France stepping back from their next-generation battle tank vision, as political and strategic disagreements threaten to derail one of Europe's most important defense projects? Amid Vladimir Putin's growing military threat, Europe's future war machine faces a major setback, leaving questions over whether the continent can build the next era of ground combat power. Is the MGCS tank dream beginning to collapse as Berlin and Paris shift their defense strategies, potentially changing the future of European armored warfare? Will NATO heavyweights move away from traditional tanks and instead focus on digital warfare, artificial intelligence, and advanced battlefield technologies for the wars of tomorrow? Germany and France appear to be moving away from their original vision for the Joint Main Ground Combat System, or MGCS, program, raising questions about the future direction of Europe's next-generation armored warfare capabilities. The MGCS project was initially designed to create a complete family of armored vehicles based on a shared common chassis, allowing both countries to develop a unified next-generation combat platform. The planned future system was expected to include a new main battle tank, a missile-equipped combat platform, and a range of supporting vehicles designed to operate together on the battlefield. However, a new statement from Germany's defense ministry no longer refers to the creation of one fully integrated joint armored platform, suggesting that the original concept may be changing. Instead, Berlin and Paris are now expected to focus more heavily on platform-independent technologies, particularly systems designed for unmanned vehicles and future battlefield networks. The revised approach would place greater emphasis on digital technologies, connectivity, and interoperability between different combat platforms rather than relying on a single shared vehicle design. The shift has drawn comparisons with the troubled Franco-German Future Combat Air System, or FCAS, program, which has also faced challenges over industrial cooperation and competing national priorities. Like FCAS, the MGCS project now appears to be moving away from the idea of one fully integrated system following disagreements between companies and governments involved in its development. Tensions between Germany and France first intensified in 2024 over key design decisions, including the configuration of the future tank's turret and the selection of its main gun. After the two countries failed to reach an agreement on a single design approach, Berlin and Paris decided to move forward by testing separate gun system concepts. The MGCS program was subsequently divided into 8 separate development areas covering key elements such as platform design, weapons, sensors, and protection systems. Additional areas of focus include simulation technologies, logistic support, and the creation of a digital command and control network linking future combat units. Military analysts say the program could increasingly shift toward digital networking and battlefield connectivity as the main area of cooperation between France and Germany. The change could represent a major transformation in Europe's future land warfare strategy, with greater focus on connected systems rather than traditional single-platform development. The development comes as NATO member states continue efforts to modernize their armed forces amid rising security concerns and a changing global military environment. Russia is raising the stakes against Ukraine by deploying larger numbers of military personnel for future battlefield operations. Russia has reportedly trained more than 140,000 personnel within its military reserve regiments for active combat roles. The Russian troops have reportedly been undergoing intensive battlefield training since the very beginning of 2026. Specialized combat instructors were assigned to prepare the Russian reservists for increasingly complex frontline warfare scenarios. Russia's Deputy Defense Ministry disclosed these preparations during a high-level military meeting, according to multiple reports. The large-scale battle preparations reportedly involved 40 separate training events overseen by as many as 107 combat commanders. The training program was reportedly designed to transfer battlefield experience while forming highly mobile small tactical combat groups, according to the Moscow Times. Russia is also reportedly placing growing emphasis on training personnel to operate ground-based and maritime robotic combat systems. This follows Vladimir Putin's 2025 directive calling for the deployment of a 2 million-strong national mobilization reserve force. In July 2026, Russia's defense ministry reportedly began forming additional mobile firing groups to strengthen protection of key strategic sites. Speculation is now mounting that Russia could launch a much larger nationwide conscription drive later in 2026. This sweeping overhaul of Russia's military comes as Putin simultaneously moves to reinforce air defenses against repeated Ukrainian attacks. Fresh satellite imagery reportedly showed that Vladimir Putin has redeployed key air defense systems from Russia's northern regions to the Moscow area. Even Russian-controlled territories inside occupied Ukraine may now be receiving additional air defense missile systems as part of the wider military reshuffle. Nearly 24 S-300 and S-400 long-range air defense systems have reportedly been relocated from the Russian city of Severodvinsk. The air defense network had previously been deployed to protect Russia's strategic nuclear-powered submarine shipyard, according to reports. The reported redeployment has notably left two major military positions at Yagry Island and Mironov Hill largely abandoned. Yagry Island, once home to 6 S-300 surface-to-air missile systems, is now reportedly left almost completely exposed. Mironov Hill previously hosted 8 S-300 launcher vehicles, but satellite images from 2025 reportedly revealed a dramatic reduction. Experts believe Putin's latest strategy assumes northern Russia remains sufficiently distant from the battlefield to accept reduced air defense coverage. An expert said, and I quote, "Trying to fend off Ukraine's drone and missile strikes against strategic infrastructure deep inside Russian territory, Russia is burning through its interceptor missile stockpiles faster than the defense industry can replace them. This has apparently forced the Kremlin to reallocate many of its air defense assets from lower priority regions to higher priority areas, such as Moscow, St. Petersburg, and operational zones closer to the Ukrainian front, including Crimea. The systems shown on earlier satellite imagery may have been dispersed, undergoing maintenance or replaced by other air defense assets. The apparent disappearance of S-300 or S-400 launchers is probably the result of a temporary redeployment rather than a permanent withdrawal, and the assets may be returned to their original sites once operational requirements elsewhere have been met." End quote. Another defense expert argued that Russia is now prioritizing the protection of Moscow and St. Petersburg above all other regions. Meanwhile, Russia's devastating aerial bombs continue to wreak havoc across the battlefield, piling fresh pressure on Zelensky's forces. On July 17, Russia's defense ministry released multiple videos it says depict the latest battlefield actions in Ukraine. One clip purportedly shows Su-34 crews destroying enemy positions with guided bombs. The ministry claims FAB-500 and OFAB-252-70 bombs munitions were used in the latest wave of strikes. Russian Ministry of Defense said, and I quote, "FAB-500 bombs with unified gliding and correction modules hit an AFU UAV control post of the 4th Operational Assignment Brigade of the National Guard of Ukraine. OFAB-252-70 with unified gliding and correction modules obliterated a temporary deployment area of the 159th Separate Mechanized Brigade, the AFU, in the village of Kolodezhnoye in Kharkov region. An airstrike destroyed a UAV control post of the 414th Separate Unmanned Strike Aviation Brigade of the AFU near the village of Antonovka in Kherson region. It was detected by aerial reconnaissance means." Unquote. Russian officials also say their forces destroyed 2 Ukrainian unmanned surface vessels during the operation. According to the ministry, the Lancet strikes were carried out in the Black Sea and in Yarholik Bay. Additional footage claims to show a Geran 4 seeker locking onto and engaging 3 separate ships. Moscow alleges these vessels were being used by Ukrainian forces to ferry supplies and other material.